Good morning, people of Chelsea. We are at the Intercontinental Hotel in Boston for a very special event. We're here on behalf of Chelsea Cable, Community Cable Television, Executive Director Paula Bradley Batchelor, the man behind the camera with the expertise, Ricky Velez, and we have the distinguished CEO and founder of ROCA, Molly Baldwin. Molly, it's been a great year. We know the Prince William and Princess Kate were here this year to showcase what an outstanding organization that you oversee. Tell us about ROCA and tell us how exciting it was to welcome our royal guests.
Well, first of all, good morning to everyone, and we're so honored to have been working with young people and partners for 35 years. And no matter where we go, no matter what we do, our home is in Chelsea, so that is awesome, so great. I mean, it's been an extraordinary year with young people, very courageous staff. The honor of having the Prince and Princess come was just remarkable, and we look forward to another 35 years, and we need your help.
When you founded this great organization, did you ever foresee the growth and how it's become a national model?
No. People ask all the time, did you imagine this? I'm like, oh no, who could? Those of you who know me the best and the longest, I'm really a youth outreach worker at heart, and so I never could have imagined it. We've had an extraordinary team. We're so honored to work with the young people, and all our supporters are just invaluable. We cannot do this without you.
Okay, let's tell the people of Chelsea and everybody else watching what we can expect this morning. What's the program like?
So we have a quick program as always. The MC is Eric Rodriguez, who's a founding ROCA youth member and grew up in Chelsea and is now a minister. We're giving out several awards. The commissioner of the police department in Baltimore, where we've been. You're going to meet several wonderful young people, and we get to say thank you to everyone.
Okay, anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for what you've done for our city.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
We'll be back with more from the breakfast. Okay, we have two very distinguished guests here. We have the president of the Chelsea City Council, Leo Robinson, and the District 8 Councilor, Calvin T. Brown. Gentlemen, great to see you. Let's talk about ROCA, their contributions to the community, and what a great breakfast this is.
Yes, actually, it's good to be here. Actually, the city of Chelsea supports ROCA. We come out to the event every year. They're doing some very good work in our city, and we're happy that they're here doing the work.
As the Dean of City Government, I'm sure you remember when they were founded 35 years ago.
I remember when Molly first came to town, and she was dealing with teen pregnancy, and then she was able to create this organization, and look what it's grown into.
Calvin T. Brown.
Hey, buddy. Hi. Thank you.
35 years. We're celebrating in ROCA, and they've done an excellent job in Chelsea.
Yes, they have. It's an honor to be here this morning on their 35th anniversary. ROCA do an outstanding job with our youth in the city of Chelsea at-risk youth, and I'm just honored to be a part of it, to watch them grow over the 35 years and wish them well success.
Okay, we have a very special guest, Juan Vega, outstanding leader in Chelsea. He is the Assistant Secretary, Office of Economic Development and Housing.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you very much, Kerry. Yeah.
Okay,
it's great to be
what's
here.
it like to be here and celebrate 35 years of ROCA? You've seen the amazing growth and the vitality they bring to our community.
Absolutely. It's certainly an honor to be able to participate today. I was happy to be invited. And it's amazing to watch an organization grow in this way, the impact that they've had in not only the four corners of Chelsea, certainly, and much more beyond that. But yeah, here to celebrate and congratulate ROCA in this anniversary.
And how is everything in state government with our new governor, Maura Healey?
Excellent. Things are, moving along. We've moved through the transition. Our office is going through a pretty significant change. There'll be a new Secretary of Housing named soon, and then, so the work continues.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for what you did for our community as well.
Yeah, thank you, Kerry. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, Ricky.
We'll be back with more from the breakfast. Well, we know who's the best athlete in this room, in every room he enters. He is David Batchelor, the director of Rewire 4. Tell us about it, Mr. Batchelor.
It's a class we started about a year ago. It's for police officers and correction officers, just to help them with emotional regulation on the job and off the job. And so far, it's worked out well. We've got a lot of good feedback. We do a lot of data analysis and evaluations, and so far the officers like it, so it's working out pretty good.
And I was a long-time Chelsea guy. You've seen the growth of ROCA. It's been amazing, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been working with ROCA since they started. I got on the police department in 1986. ROCA started in Chelsea in 1988. And I've been helping them for the last 35 years. So they certainly have grown from just Molly to, I think they have close to 200 employees.
Here's the most important question. What was it like returning an interception against our arch rival Everett, 90 yards for a touchdown? Probably the longest interception return in the history of Chelsea.
It was just easy. So I caught the ball, and Lamar was in front of me, and I just followed him. He knocked down like 3 or 4 people, and I just followed him into the end zone. But unfortunately, we lost the game.
Right, it was at Everett Memorial Stadium.
At Everett. That was probably in 77, I think. Yeah, it was fun.
For 78, we beat Medford. We tied Medford. Medford went on to win the Super Bowl. We were 6-3-1 that year. But imagine we tied.
Remember all that, huh?
The Division I Super Bowl champion.
They tied us.
Yeah.
They tied us because there was like 50 seconds left in the game. We were up 6-0, and they scored a touchdown.
That means that was one of the best teams in Massachusetts because Medford went on to win the Division I state championship.
They did. They were undefeated other than the game with us, the tie.
6-6 tie.
That's right. They beat everybody else.
Yes.
So,
okay.
Yeah, we should have won that one, though.
He's a Hall of Famer, and he is the husband of our boss, the great Paula Bradley Batchelor.
That's right.
Thank you so much, David. Great to see you.
All right, nice seeing you. Thanks, Kim.
My pleasure. That was David Batchelor. Let's move on and meet other distinguished guests. Okay, Kathy Reinstein, my former state representative representing Chelsea and Revere, and Saugus too.
Yes, it's August too.
Wow. And here we are at ROCA.
Yes, ROCA's annual breakfast. We're so happy that Chelsea Cable could be here. You guys never miss anything. This is our annual breakfast, the first time we are back in person since COVID. ROCA is celebrating 35 years, and now we have sites in five sites in Massachusetts. We're in Baltimore, Maryland, and we're also in Connecticut. And it all started in Chelsea, and we want to thank the city of Chelsea for being our hometown.
Great. Thank you so much for what you've done for our communities.
No, thank you, and thank you for being here, Carrie. We appreciate you.
Okay, State Representative Kathy Reinstein is here today.
Thank you.
All right, you may recognize this gentleman, the former executive director of the Jordan Boys and Girls Club, the president of the New England Patriots Foundation, Josh Kraft. Thank you so much for bringing us 6 Super Bowl championships.
Oh, Carrie, I mean, you were part of all those championships. No bigger fan than Carrie.
Well, we're all fans of the New England Patriots, but Josh, we're here today for ROCA, an excellent organization.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, my very first day in Chelsea, first person I met was, I'm pointing because she's right there, was Molly. And I had a great relationship ever since. And Molly cares, she's committed, she's made a difference, she's thoughtful. And most importantly, she's thoughtful and she cares. So it's been great getting to know her and be a friend of hers for many years.
How are you, Teneri? One of us great city councilors. What's it like to be here today?
Well, it's super exciting. I've met many wonderful people. This is exciting for ROCA. They've done amazing things over the years, and I just can't wait what's next for them. They have beautiful, beautiful things happening.
As a leader yourself, you know about excellent leadership, and Molly Baldwin runs a tremendous organization.
She does. She does an amazing work. I truly don't know how she does it. And to have opened so many other ROCAs, she's doing this in other cities other than Chelsea, but Chelsea was a pioneer city, and that to me is beautiful. She's used her talents in other cities, and to have Chelsea in the front center, that's beautiful for me. Yeah.
Okay. And will you be running for re-election?
I will. I'm actually pulling papers today, so.
Wow. Very good.
Yes.
Continue the exceptional leadership that you bring to Chelsea, and we'll be having a great time at the breakfast.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Enjoy. Take care, guys.
We have a man from the House of Representatives, State Representative Paul Donato of Medford, and you're here to celebrate ROCA, Mr. Donato.
Absolutely, it's a wonderful program. They take care of every single person in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that needs support, and they've been doing it for 35 years, and I'm so proud of them and the work that Dolly and the group does.
You know, she's built this into a national model. It's tremendous.
It's absolutely incredible,
Yeah.
and she does it from her heart, and she does it from her soul, and makes things happen.
Okay, 2 questions. How are things in your home of Medford, and how are things with the new gubernatorial administration and Governor Healy?
Well, Medford is doing well. We're moving forward and making things happen, and the governor is doing a terrific job. She's making sure that all of the programs that she said during her campaign are on the forefront, and she's going to make the legislature work with her and get things done.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Donato.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Okay, a very distinguished guest from our next-door neighbor in Revere. He is the acting mayor of Revere, Patrick Keefe. Mr. Keefe, Mr. Mayor, it's great to see you.
Gary, thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Okay, we're here to celebrate ROCA, and they do excellent work in Chelsea.
They do great work everywhere. We have them in Revere as well.
Yes.
We work really well with Kathy Reinstein, who sets them up, and we have a good crew. We get them doing all sorts of different tasks, and great people, great services.
And we know you're running the city as the mayor.
Yes.
And we had a great function last night. Your announcement.
Yes, my official announcement last night. It went over really well, Carrie. What'd you think about the crowd?
Tremendous crowd.
It was good. It was a very diverse crowd. It was just an entire mixed population of all of Revere. So I was very happy about that.
Okay, it's great to see you here representing the city of Revere.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you very much. Thank you, Roger.
As Mayor Patrick Keefe. We'll be back with more from the breakfast. Mr. Cobbinger, the Sheriff of Essex County, great to see you here. Tell us about ROCA and its impact on the judicial system, the criminal justice system in Massachusetts. It's phenomenal, isn't it?
ROCA is phenomenal. You just mentioned it. It's tremendous, and especially us in the corrections world.
Yeah.
When obviously individuals come to jail, but we want them to leave in better shape than when they arrived. And the key is re-entry services, and ROCA provides that with us.
Yeah.
They come into the jail, they meet the inmates during their incarcerated period, then they work with the inmates to prepare them with us, so when they leave us, they don't come back to see us at the jail. And then they take the ball even further. So when the individuals are back into the community, they help them. They train them. They work with them. They try to make sure they got a roof over their head, and they educate them. They take everything we do in the jail to the next step to keep it going. Their success rate is tremendous. Just look around here. Look at the people that support ROCA. It's a great help to the whole criminal justice system and society as a whole.
Now, Molly Baldwin, the CEO and founder, has expanded it to Baltimore and Springfield. I think it should go across the country.
Molly's wonderful. I say this, tongue-in-cheek, but she's a pit bull. You can't say no to Molly, and that's Molly Baldwin, but that's why ROCA is successful. She runs a great team. They're in the right direction, and they're just wonderful people.
Now, you've seen it as the police chief of Lynn, and now as the sheriff of Essex County.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I've been in the criminal justice system almost 40 years.
Yeah.
It's evolved quite a bit. We all know that. We watch what's happened over the last decade or so, even shorter. But it's organizations like this, and I think we all really agree. We need to keep people out of jail that belong out of jail. We need to keep people in jail that belong in jail. And there is a healthy balance. And we have to maintain that balance in between the criminal justice system like corrections, what we do, the police world, and the outside agencies like the ROCAs of the world and other social service agencies. Work together as a team. It can be successful.
Thank you for joining us today, Sheriff Coffinger.
My pleasure, Carrie. All the best to you. Thank you so much.
We just talked to Representative Paul Donato, but now we have my state representative. I am a resident of Chelsea, and she is the leader on Beacon Hill for the city of Chelsea. Judith Garcia, Representative, great to see you.
Great to see you too. It's such a great event today, and I'm excited to be here. ROCA is a wonderful organization. It's at the heart of Chelsea, and now it's expanding and it's growing, and it's a beautiful morning to be surrounded by so many leaders, so many supporters who believe in this cause, and hopefully we keep growing and expanding.
Let's talk about Molly Baldwin and her leadership as a CEO and founder.
Absolutely. And not only is she the CEO, but she's also a Chelsea resident. So she's also a constituent, and it's incredible. She's been a role model. She believes in our youth. She believes in our youth, especially the ones that are at most risk. And I think it's very, very powerful that she has not lost faith in them. And above all, she gives them opportunities and opportunities to have impact in our local communities. So these are the kids that are giving a lot. She's supporting our young mothers. And as you may have heard from Mr. Paul Donato, who spoke a few moments ago, we were able to find a lot of money for them, and that's great. So hopefully they'll be starting a pilot program from our young mothers, and we continue to advocate, and thanks to Paul Donato's leadership.
Okay, and how are things on Beacon Hill and working with the new governor, Maura Healey, and Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll?
I feel incredibly blessed. It's a new crew of leaders. We just finished budget season, so the House budget just passed, and I was able to secure funding for both Everett and Chelsea. I got all of my priorities in terms of rental assistance, environmental justice, food insecurity, and obviously we were able to get opportunities for rapid employment. We know that our residents need employment opportunities, but they also need to address food insecurity and rental assistance. So I'm so proud of that as a freshman. It's a huge accomplishment.
Okay, thank you so much, Representative Garcia.
So much for the work that you do and for continuing to communicate the important matters to our residents.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My city councilor, right, Prattville?
That's it.
Okay, Todd Taylor, city councilor. Great to see you supporting ROCA here.
Thank you. Well, they do an important mission, and we're here to support them. And it's really important that somebody does this job. So, we're here to support ROCA and all it does.
Fortunate to have Molly Baldwin at the helm.
That's right. Good. It'll be good. We'll see what happens this morning.
Okay, it should be an exciting breakfast.
You got it.
Okay.
Good.
Nice to see you, Councilor Taylor.
Thank you.
Here we have a very powerful leader representing Revere. She is State Representative Jessica Giannino. She's done a great job for Revere, Saugus, and Chelsea. What's it like to be here today, Representative Giannino?
Carrie, how lucky am I? I'm surrounded by some of my favorite people like you and our leaders in Revere and Chelsea and our surrounding communities. It's always great to be in a room full of friends and full of people that care so deeply for our community. We're so lucky to have programs like ROCA working with our youth and really doing so many great things for Revere and Chelsea and the North Shore.
How are things on Beacon Hill?
Beacon Hill is beautiful. It's the best time of year. The weather's warming up, so it's not as cold. Just got out of the House budget. It's in the Senate's hands now, and it's been a very busy few weeks.
It's great to have you serving on Beacon Hill for us.
It's great to have you serving for Revere and Chelsea TV. We're so lucky to have you.
Okay. Anything else, Representative Giannino?
No, thank you all. Have fun, be safe, and thank you, ROCA, for everything that you do. We're so grateful to have you.
Okay. How are you, Acting City Manager Ned Keefe? I'm a Chelsea resident, so he's my manager, and you're doing a great job. What's it like to be here today for ROCA?
Well, I've been in Chelsea for a long time, and I've known Molly Baldwin and ROCA almost in the first 3 or 4, 5 years that they were working here and began working in Chelsea. So it's a pleasure to be here. They really achieved a extraordinary program, and with consistency and impactfulness. And so that focus on being impactful, I think, is their sort of watchword. So it's a pleasure to be here. I'm really pleased to celebrate with them their successes.
Amazing guest speaker that's going to be giving our keynote. More in a minute, but I have the privilege of having a good conversation with him. And he shared something important. He shared the power and importance of contracts and the storytelling. And one of the things that he shared was how looking at contracts And then I can't help but to look at the contrast of life here, right? What God and what ROCA and what people in this room are doing is incredible and should be commended. And what we want to do is recognize the dignitaries that here that are out in the room and are working with the team to affect change. So would you help me in thanking those folks who are here today? First and foremost, from the federal and international partners, the United States Federal Marshal Brian Keith. Norman Abbott, District Attorney of Congress 7, District Attorney of Congress in 7th office. Norman Abbott here. To Great Britain and the British Consulate in Boston. You guys are too excited. Stop applause. Hold the applause to the end so that we can run things very quickly. We want to thank our Massachusetts partners. Of course, the Massachusetts Attorney General, Andrea Campbell, and Senators. Chair Aaron Leibowitz, Chair Andrew Mandel, I'm telling the reading guys, I graduated from high school, from Chelsea High before they fixed it. Chair Paul Donato, Chair Dan Ryan, Chair Michael Day, Chair... So what can I do now? Marjorie Decker, Chair Jay Livingston, Representative Kathleen Minatri, Representative Chris Hendricks, Representative Jessica Janino, thank you. And he's been working in the medicine and I still messed it up. Representative Sally Karen, Representative Steve Owens, Representative Jenny Armani, I need a suit like that. Representative Sherry Arita, Representative Samantha Montano, Senator Jamie Eldred. Also, District Attorney, the District Attorney that are joining us here today, Hampton District Attorney Anthony Galumi, Middlesex County District Attorney Bonnie Ryan, and Suffolk County District Attorney Kevin Hayden. Essex County Sheriff Kevin Coppinger, Suffolk County Sheriff Steve Tompkins. From the courts, we have Chief Justice of the Trial Court, the Honorable Jeffrey Bach. Chief Administrator of the Trial Court, Tom Aberson. Honorable Maureen Welch, Federal Appeals Court. Honorable Kevin Walton, First Justice, Springfield District Court. For the Massachusetts Probation and Corrections, Deputy Probation Commissioner Michael Kellogg. Deputy Probation Commissioner Emerson Eichel. Deputy Probation Commissioner Brian Maroso. Deputy Probation Commissioner Don Rowan. Chief Probation Officer Carmen Gomez, Department of Corrections Commissioner Carol McKee, Department of Corrections Chief of Staff Sean Jenkins, and other Massachusetts partners, Anthony Diabiti, Chief Counsel of Massachusetts Committee for Public Counsel and Service, Gina Pinot, I really, you gotta need somebody else to read these. I'm back. Undersecretary for Public Safety and Security, Mary McDowell, Undersecretary of Health and Human Services, Mary Mosaidi, Director of Office and Child Advocacy, DYS Acting Commissioner Cecily Redden, Secretary of Public Safety and Security, Terrence Reddy, Jan Vega, Assistant Secretary of Housing and Economic Development. And our principals, the following are from the City of Boston. City Councilor Michael Flaherty, City Councilor Brian Worrell, City Councilor Kendra Barber, Tiffany Chu, Chief of Staff of Mayor Michelle Wu, Michael Firestone, Chief of Police and Strategic Planning, Jose Mesa, Chief of Human Services, Isaac Yabo, Senior Advisor to the Mayor for Community Safety, and the followers from the City of Chelsea. Ned Keith, Interim City Manager, Police Chief Keith Hilton, City Councilor President Leo Robinson, City Councilor Tanari Garcia, City Councilor Calvin Brown, City Councilor Tony Eichner, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Iman Abiyah. Man, you each get to punch me in the face if I mess up. Standing at the door and for the municipalities, Cambridge Police Commissioner Kristen Ello, and Acting Mayor of Revere Patrick Keefe, and Holyoke Chief of Police David Pack. If there's another list, I'm joking. We also want to thank our sponsors. Without our sponsors, none of this would be possible. So we really want to take a moment to recognize, first and foremost, our relentless sponsors, Rockland Mortgage. You can give it up. Dan and Carrie Lyons, the rest, and the rest of and for our transformational sponsors, the Bennett Family Foundation, and Karen Manconi, who just stepped in, State Representative for the City of Chelsea, Judith Garcia. Thank you for your So allow me to introduce myself. My name is Eric. I'm a pastor in Milford, Massachusetts, and I got involved with ROCA when it was a pep. Tough crowd. Really, I got involved when I was 15 years old. In 1988, ROCA was actually operating out of a two-bedroom apartment. Remember that? And actually, they reached out to young people who were standing on the corner, hanging out, and we were approached and said, hey, we opened up the Salvation Army. And would you like to come and play basketball? And it was, it was a bait and switch. Right? Because they really, what I didn't realize at the moment is they were trying to connect with young people. Clearly they realize I'm Latino and I'm a pastor, so I walk around a lot. I'm like, oh, they're keeping me stuck here. Hey, so man, I'm here. reach out to me. They say, hey, we can even help you get a job here. And they started building a relationship with me. And what I want to do is take you through, because the person who's going to be doing the keynote speech today is a master storyteller and inspired me and understanding the power of stories. And I want to share my story today. Really, and I want to share really 3 landmarks in my personal story arc. And it started with getting involved in ROCA, and really I was on the street, but Molly and company kind of really reached out to me relentlessly. Some of y'all know what I mean by relentless. Like, I'm talking about relentless, aka annoying. Right? It was so powerful. One day, a friend of mine got shot, Tom Verducci, and I was bent on revenge. I went out and actually borrowed a friend's gun, and we were going to go to a drive-by. And I hear, and it's this lady standing in my face and said, "Word on the street." I'm like, how do you know on the street? Word on the street is you're about to go do something that's probably not a good idea. And I was so angry. I was like, I don't care what you do, this is happening. And she said, no, it's not. And she sent me away. She literally put me in a car. Go. And cool your jets. Cognitive, right? The thinking, the stopping in the moment of heat, right? This is before ROCA has become what it is today. This is kind of the genesis of it. And she says, "Make go away, cool your jets." I came back and I didn't do the drive, right? She talked me off the ledge. So that's the first landmark. I was an angry kid with a paradigm that violence is the way I can solution some of my problems. Fast forward. Now, I'm working in ROCA. And I'm the one on the other side being annoying. And a fight breaks out in ROCA. And in the midst of breaking up that fight, I actually get stabbed. And now I'm mad. I'm like, okay, this kid's gonna get it. And somebody on my office door says, "Mom, you can't do that. That can't be the way forward for you. That can't be how you solution this." And somehow that situation turned into a sit down with this young man, and I forgave him. I'm trying to tell you that the only way I got to a place where I was able to sit with somebody who hurt me and forgave them was through a consistent, relentless relationship building that affected the way I think. That's what we're doing here today. That's what ROCA is about. So I said there was 3 landmarks, right? I get stabbed. My friend gets shot, someone else gets stabbed right in the middle of it, right around that time. My father commits suicide. And for some reason, I cannot remember what anybody else said to me, except Mom, in her office. And I just remember her coaching me through that darkness and realizing that I did not have to take destructive ways or find destructive ways to cope with my grief and anger. That change, that effect, that relationship, those conversations echo into who I am today. Today I'm a pastor, but I'm trying to tell you that the message I carry is very ROCA-centric. Right? Okay, I'm going to get a little Christian news on you. David, we all heard David had a slain giant Goliath, right? David, when he killed the giant, he killed him with a rock. But did you know he had 4 other rocks? Do you know why he had 4 other rocks? Because Goliath had 4 brothers. It's true. Go look that up. Goliath had 4 brothers. ROCA in one location is not enough. We need rocks everywhere. We need rocks everywhere. Because there are giants that are coming for our young men and young women. To stand up here and see in this room, to say the word testify and witness completely conjures something else up. But I can testify to the goodness of what's happening here, and I'm a witness. And today you got to hear my story, and it's what excites me about what ROCA is doing. And so, what we want to do is to really use this time to garner support and understanding for what we're doing here. See, I'm not the only one that was affected. I'm not the only one that was able to change. In Baltimore, we have graduates, man, people who are coming, who have made it, who have succeeded. I want you to check out this video.
During the 4 years of my time at ROCA, probably from 2020 to 2021, I got locked up with a handgun on person. Like 4 months later, I came home, I was shot 13 times.
When I first got into ROCA, I was basically just coming home off of a violation charge, a violation of probation. And about a week after I came home, ROCA started knocking on the door.
I actually got incarcerated for a handgun on person, and I want to say less than 6 hours I was home, ROCA was there for me. They knocked on the door, come and check, make sure I was okay, see how court dates was doing, when was my court date, how could they arrange different things for me. That's a guy on ROCA named Tashawn Bay. That was how he came to my house, and his body language and effort, everything what he said when he came to the house when I first met him, it was that. It was a father figure talking to a son. That's the kind of vibe he gave when he came to his body language. Walking straight out the front door and just to somebody that I don't know, it was hard. It was hard to just say I'm going to give y'all my all. I don't know y'all from Adam to Eve. So once I got a little bit to know y'all and know what the worth was behind ROCA, I started to stick around. I started to play my part in ROCA, and I became the man I am today. My father, his father never worked a day in their life, so like, God stopped that bad trade somewhere, so I like this good trade that I'm starting. So now my kids can see like, oh, yeah, oh, my grandfather did, my great-grandfather did that, but what my father doing, oh, my father working, so it's gonna put their mindset on, oh yeah, I need to work too.
When I wake up to go outside, it's for me to go to work, you know, like actually be productive instead of doing the illegal things, like knowing that the job pays off just as much as all the other things I did in the past.
What helped me was CBT. CBT played a big part in my life. Knowing that I can do this, and the consequence behind this may lead to back in jail again. It was a time when I was arguing, and I knew that my life was changing. I argued about being at work. I actually broke a window. I was crying. I cried. I yelled, I screamed, I did the most to see if I could still be a part of something that I knew was positive. So right then and there, I knew my life was changing.
I would have to say graduation meant a lot to me because just seeing where ROCA came from, and actually like myself and ROCA growing and to become better things in life. So just seeing that come from like a small space, zero basically, to like grow into like a beautiful company, so, and a beautiful program.
I want to see ROCA push. I want to see ROCA keep knocking. I want to see ROCA at people front doors more than what they used to be. I want ROCA to help the young men that I see on the corner daily. It's not really nothing I can sit here and say that I want more for ROCA, because they have fulfilled a lot of dreams and overcame a lot of steps for people that never thought there'd be anything in life. I want ROCA to be here for the rest of my life.
very special guest with us that we'd like to bring up here. Many people support ROCA, but really the people who are in the trenches and the people who are influencers, man, we're just so grateful to have them as part of the team. And we have today with us, joining us, going to share with us from the great state of Massachusetts, the Commonwealth, the Attorney General, Andrea Campbell. She had a challenging life with instability. She was getting out of foster homes and between her relatives. Her mom passed away when she was young in a car accident, and on her way to see her father in prison. It wasn't until after her father got out of prison that she went to live with him. But man, she persevered, and through that all, she's been able to graduate from Boston Latin High School. She went and worked her way through Princeton University and UCLA. And she is just a model for those who can work their way out of a system that's designed to keep you stuck in it. She's making a change and she's affecting change. So would you help me welcome up here
and going through all those names. I was to look at the program. They're all listed and applaud every elected official and everyone who's in leadership here. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Okay, we can do better than that. We're here to celebrate. We're here to listen to an incredible keynote speaker. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, ROCA. Molly, God bless you. For cheering me on, literally. But thank you, ROCA, for the invitation to speak to you all this morning and to welcome you. I also want to, of course, acknowledge the staff, the team, the board members, everyone who has assisted in creating this event. It's never easy to pull this many people into a room. And also to make sure your breakfast is served on time, you have coffee, orange juice, and everything else. So to the staff at ROCA, to the board, but also to the folks who are serving the food and preparing everything this morning, thank you. Over the years, I've come to know ROCA quite well and actually partnered with them in the work, including in my former role as a city councilor in Boston, and visited many of their sites, met with their team members and board members and clients. And what I love about this organization is they have always remained true to their mission, to disrupt cycles of violence, poverty, incarceration, racism, particularly amongst young adults, the 16 to 24 range who have experienced trauma and may have been primary victims of violence and or drivers of violence. They do what I like to think is the tough stuff, the hard work, often filling in the gaps to work with a population and an age group where, I'll name it, municipalities or the state or other community-based organizations just have not been able to tap into, just have not been able to wrap their hands around. ROCA gets in and does the work. They understand well how easy it is for young people to become trapped in a system, and by some accounts, a system that was designed to fail them. By directly encouraging and engaging with our youth, law enforcement, and thank you to all of the law enforcement that's in the room, it is significant. Thank you for your stakeholders in positions of power. They bring everyone together to build relationships in an effort to bridge divide, establish trust, and allow for healing and understanding. But they don't stop there. They mentor their young people relentlessly. I call it mentorship on steroids. Ensuring that their young people are always connected with and connected with and by a team member at all hours during sometimes some significant trials and tribulations. They stick with their people. They support mothers and parents and caregivers. They provide jobs and economic opportunity and so much more. The work they do, as you know, is significant, and most importantly, it's necessary. It's organizations like this that afford our young people a second, a third, or maybe even a fourth opportunity to reach their God-given potential, while always seeing the humanity in them. As someone, and Eric talked about my story a little bit, who has lost significant family members to the prison and carceral system, and I still have relatives that are behind the wall. This work is not just about the individual. It is about the family. It is about the community. I often say, but for organizations like ROCA, I wouldn't be standing here. My mom did die when I was 8 months old. She died when I was 8 months old, going to visit my father who was incarcerated. He was at Walpole at the time. My father was incarcerated for the first 8 years of my life. When he got out of prison, he did the best he could. He always stressed the importance of education, education, education. But he would not have been able to do that well if it weren't for organizations that supported individuals that were previously incarcerated, like ROCA. And but for those organizations, I probably wouldn't be here. So the work they do has a ripple effect. So when you're supporting ROCA, you're not just supporting an organization and one individual or group of individuals who graduate. You're supporting a community, you're supporting the Commonwealth, and truly breaking cycles of poverty, crime, incarceration, and criminalization. I'll just also add, because I'm not supposed to be up here long, right, Eric? I'll just also add, we often talk about systems reform, and I think sometimes that language is thrown around. What does that mean? There are many who would say that the reason people are behind the wall is simply because of personal choice and responsibility. Yes, there is some personal choice that is wrapped in it, but that doesn't explain it all. It does not explain why our prison systems are largely housed with black and brown people, or why our poorest neighborhoods in the Commonwealth are largely filled with black and brown people. That didn't happen by accident. Government played a role through policy and at times intentionality to create these circumstances, to create the conditions in which we find ourselves. So we in government and positions of power have a unique responsibility to focus on the systemic stuff, to really roll back those policies that have created these conditions in which young people find themselves, frankly, living in poverty and sometimes with no hope because the circumstances and conditions in which they find themselves, frankly, is hopeless. So as Attorney General, I look forward to working with so many folks in this room on the systemic stuff, on the things that ROCA, frankly, needs us to do to maximize their work. They're doing their part. It's important that we do our part. So I'm really honored to be here with each and every one of you. Were you just waving a red flag and saying, get off the stage? To address the disparities that exist, of course, in every system, but most importantly, disparities that exist in our prison system, in our economic system. There's significant work still to do. Molly, thank you for your leadership. Thank you, ROCA, and your team for the work you do every single day. And thank you to everyone in this breakfast who woke up at the crack of dawn, because we would only be here for Molly and ROCA. Thank you for supporting this incredible organization. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing those powerful words and powerful words of hope. Come on up, and I apologize, I jumped the show.
No problem, Eric. Thank you for the great comments, AG, and I'm very happy to be with you this morning. My name is Mihal Chamberlain. I'm the president of Massachusetts for Bank of America. On behalf of Bank of America, who has a deep and long-standing partnership with ROCA, I want to congratulate you on 35 years of outstanding work that uses a trauma-informed approach. In these current times with mental health and overall well-being being top of mind, ROCA's 35 years of work to break cycles of racism, poverty, and incarceration is more timely than ever. But the reality is we'll take all of us across sectors and organizational focus areas to keep the momentum for progress going forward. Bank of America remains steadfast in our commitment to addressing racial equity and economic opportunity, and are particularly mindful of the important role ROCA's Impact Institute will play in giving our youth second chance pathways to a more secure economic future for themselves and their families. Our employees care too, like Jim Montany, former public policy executive for Bank of America, who passed away a few years ago. Jim was a tireless advocate inside our company and in the broader community for efforts like that of ROCA's that break the cycle of prison recidivism and intergenerational poverty. It's because of Jim's lifelong commitment to ROCA that ROCA named their National Rewire Institute in memory of this great man. In perpetuity, ROCA will give an annual award in honor of Jim's memory to someone who played a catalytic role in scaling ROCA's cognitive behavior practice and therapeutic approach to helping individuals overcome trauma-induced violence. To introduce this year's Jim Montany Award winner, I'd like to welcome to the stage James J.T. Timpson, Managing Director of Community Violence Initiatives for
Good morning, everyone. So, and the theme of stories, when I first heard about ROCA's method and working with police and how we had to be partners, and I told Molly, not in Baltimore, you gotta be crazy. You just don't work with police like that. But everybody knows Molly's wonders of nature, and the way that she persists and pushes through things and lets us know, like, we gotta trust the process. We trusted the process, and now we can say that honestly, the Baltimore Police Department is probably our best partner. Well, let me take the probably off. The Baltimore Police Department is our best partner. It's easy to talk about, but it's hard to do. And we've been blessed to have a commissioner that has been able to not only show what it looks like, but actually walk the walk with a group of organizational community partners that are really willing to do the work. It's especially difficult in Baltimore, but the city is fortunate to have attracted this national leader in progressive law enforcement and policing reform to lead our police department. After leading two large departments through federal consent decrees, Commissioner Michael Harrison was sworn in as Baltimore's 41st police commissioner in March of 2019. The commissioner has done an outstanding job, and he has been a terrific partner to work with. Here's the biggest part. How many times can I tell you that a police officer has never said no? Not too many times. But this commissioner has been with us consistently and has not told us no. We ask, and sometimes I can say to Molly, like, I feel like, you're asking too much. Just keep going back and asking more. And what did the commissioner say? Yes. So, with that being said, it is in recognition of his exemplary leadership and commitment to systematic reform, I'm proud to present the 2023 James E. Montany Award to Commissioner Michael Harrison. And thank you for the work. Look, a very special thank you to Molly. A very special thank you to all of you who are on the board. I have to always give a special thank you to my dear friend, Andre Davis, who is responsible for me getting the job in Baltimore. On good days, which are most days, I thank him for that, but there's some days I need Roland. I need Roland to help me not do something that I want to do. And we know what kind of ways those are. But really, thank you for this high honor. Molly, thank you to the board. Thank you to all of you who support ROCA and the work. in all of the ways that we support, financially, on the ground, politically, with communications. Thank you. Really quickly, as I left New Orleans and came to Baltimore, I held these community meetings for 9 straight nights, and every night, members of the community asked me, how were we able to turn the New Orleans Police Department around, where I was the chief there 4.5 years after being there 28 years. And I said, well, we had great enforcement, but what we had was organizations that really helped change people's life conditions. And I began to advocate for that in Baltimore, because the mayor who hired me, the first mayor, said we needed someone to change the violence problem in Baltimore. But then 60 days later, when she was no longer the mayor, the next mayor said we need another crime fighter. Then a year later, when it was the next mayor, yes, 3 mayors in 4 years. But we now have a mayor who gets it, and it is about, and I have been advocating that it can't just be enforcement. The only way to really turn around a culture of ours is to change the life conditions of why people even make bad choices in the first place. Yes, we have to do traditional policing, but we have to do the heavy lift and the hard work of really changing one, and especially this young demographic of people 16 to 24. And so I began to advocate that from my first day, so much so that when I built my 100-day crime plan for the department, and I made it a 5-year crime plan and department transformation plan, I actually built ROCA into the comprehensive strategy, and so now I know that I owe you an apology because I did that without your permission. But I forced the city into using this instead of the total reliance of enforcement alone, that we actually have to change people's life conditions and change how they make behavioral decisions and why they do it in the very first place. If we can do that, we not only change the crime problem and the culture of but we help the person, the family, the community in so many more ways. So I am proud to receive this honor. Thank you for thinking of me and thinking that I'm a good partner, but you're a great partner. And now that we are doing the work, the Baltimore Police Department has been a partner. Thank you. We're doing the heavy lift. We're sharing the responsibility of changing the culture of violence by changing the way young people think and make decisions. But now we're teaching members of the Baltimore Police Department, and I think we're doing that in your department too, Commissioner. We are teaching officers the ROCA rewire. More than 700 members of our department have undergone this training and are learning how to slow down and think about the implications and the consequences of a decision. And now we're getting testimony after testimony after testimony about how officers, detectives, supervisors are making better decisions because they're slowing down and thinking about both implications and consequences. And they're making better decisions, and their life, their work, and their efficacy is so much better. They're also giving testimony after testimony on how they're going home and applying it in their personal lives and at home. And so it is not only changing the culture of violence in the Baltimore community, but it's changing the work environment in the Baltimore Police Department. It's changing the way officers feel about the work they do and how they're better prepared and how they are better persons and people and family members at home. And so with that, Commissioner, who's my good friend, your commissioner in Boston, I've learned 3 things about public speaking. Stand up to be seen, speak up to be heard, then go sit down so you can get invited back. With that,
Now, moving right along, we're going to be presenting the V.J. Fung Award. And I was asked as we were preparing for this, hey, you knew him, do you think you could share a few words? And man, what an honor, because he was just such an amazing young man. And V.J., I gotta tell you that for the first, I don't know, 6 months, maybe a year, I didn't know his name was V.J. They called him Flipper. And listen, I grew up in a Latino community. We have some weird nicknames too, so I'm not making fun of anybody. You know, we got Boom Uno and Pookie and, so Flip, I was like, all right, this is, and I kind of said, man, if I was in my head, if I was going to be a gang member, I'd want like something like Tiger Claw. But instead he ate Flipper. But you know what? As I got to know him, it was actually appropriate because Flipper was one bad dolphin. Or land safety. But really, Flipper to me is somebody who's flipped his trajectory. And man, if you met Viche when he was an angry young man, and then he just became this warm person who his smile, the kind of person that when he smiles, you're smiling, you don't even know why you're smiling, why are you smiling? Right? He's just that kind of warm person. And I remember one time that we were on a basketball court, right? He loved to play basketball. We were playing at the JCC in Revere, and a fight almost broke out. And to my surprise, the person in the middle saying peace was Viche. Right? So, man, to see the transition makes me proud to know him. He died tragically in a construction accident. I want you to hear that for a second. He died tragically in a construction accident. Working, not in jail, not by a gun. Man, so this program works. So I'm going to have Solomon come up here so that he can present this lovely award.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Grateful to be here this morning, spend this moment with you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to present this award, this year's award. I want to start with a quote from Maya Angelou. You may encounter great defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to you to encounter the defeats so you can know who you are, what you can rise from, and how you can still come from it. I'm blessed this year to be able to present this year's Viche Award recipient, Sidel Calidor.
How you guys doing this morning? I'm not really used to this, so bear with me. I'm just going to be transparent with you and catch you guys up to speed on everything about my life. So I want to say, like, I had a good upbringing, and it's funny because in Springfield, Mass, it's like, you know, the bad neighborhoods right next to the good neighborhoods. So it's like all together, you know. But I started out, you know, working. I had a good job. I was actually someone who was already really motivated. Temptations, everything around me, but I always kept, you know, 1 foot forward when my mom said, you know, you gotta keep going. So it was just the company I kept, really. So with the company I kept, it landed me into some serious trouble, even while working. I had just moved into an apartment. I had just, you know, actually started getting, you know, promoted, good hours, and, you know, it's sad to say I went to jail for home invasion. And it's funny because, you know, I really didn't like, especially when I got into East, I didn't like to say that to people. I didn't really like to put it out there. But I'm confident to say that because of just the trajectory I went into and how much I've learned just over the amount of 2 years. And joining Each was probably like the best thing that ever happened to me. If you guys don't know what Each Court is, it's kind of running with ROCA. It's actually the first of its kind where it's like your first offense, your first felony, they're giving young men and young women a chance to change their life in a matter of 1 year. It's not regular probation, it's actually really hard. Everybody could attest to you, Anthony Boone, our probation officer back in, I used to come to court shaking. Like, even just for little things, you get in trouble, you know, to get like, what do you call that? You used to have to go on Saturday, you used to have to go do community service. I never liked community service, never wanted to. Imagine waking up at 8 o'clock, you're outside, it's raining, and we gotta pick up trash on the highway. You don't want to do that. But I always had a fear of, I'm gonna go to jail this week, I messed up. But it's funny because constantly though, I just wanted to do better. And it was hard for me at the beginning. I was real stubborn. Chris can attest to that too. Me and Chris actually had a lot of back and forth arguments. She stood by me though. She actually was the one that was driving me to work when I first joined each, to try to help me. But really my early struggles was just my emotions, that was the biggest part of me. I didn't like the situation I was in. I didn't like, going to court every Thursday. I didn't like having to call a drug test. I just didn't want it, so I would be bitter and just argue with everybody. And, there's comes a point in your life where you just have to accept things. And using CBT as well, which I'm horrible with CBT, I'm horrible remembering all of them. I only remember the ones that benefit me the most, which would be stay present. Because I'm a person that to daydream, I look off into space, so they actually really help me just keeping me working, keeping me in the moment, Stay present, flex your thinking, and work on your values. I value my son, I value my freedom, and that would have me flex my thinking, where it's I have to really do what I have to do. I got to put pride aside. I used to walk everywhere. I walked to court, I used to walk to work, walk to ROCA every day. I'm actually one of the people that it's called TEP, the work that they do at ROCA. I have probably one of the most days on TEP, just because it's just I really, really wanted to show everybody that, I've done this before, I've had a job, I kept a job, but that was my real big struggle, man. And, I went down a lot of bad paths on each, where it's substance abuse and just, it's crazy just sitting here right now, just looking at all you guys. I didn't think I would even finish each program. I didn't think I would actually get my freedom back. And that's really important to me, and I'm really happy to share this story with you. But I just want to thank everybody. I just want to thank Martha, I want to thank Meg, I want to thank Damien, who's actually gotten this reward before. He was with me early on. I wouldn't have done it without any of these people. I would have never got here at all. And I'm blessed that I've met these people. I actually now work at BHN, Behavioral Health Network. So it's been really good, I'm just learning. They're teaching me different trades. I'm a facilities person, so I'm the one that comes to fix all the problems, broken doors. Yeah, people like to kick holes in the wall, patching that. So I just, I'm just blessed to live how I'm living now, because I'm telling you, when I say I used to shake in court, I used to shake in court. I used to be scared. And I'm just happy that now I can just, have my freedom back and go to sleep. I can wake up, and it's just, I also want the each program to expand. I want people to get a chance, like I got a chance. Because we don't always get a chance. There's people that, when I actually was in jail, that have been in jail since they were 18, 19, and they're in their 20s, in their 30s. So I really just want people to see that over time, once you accept the people that are around you and the love that you get from these people, from ROCA especially, because I could walk into ROCA any day and it's like family. It's they know me, it's like they know me all my life. So I just want to thank everybody that's been there for me, and I'm proud to have won this award. I'm proud to be all of you guys. Thank you.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. How about if I were to tell you that this might be the most important breakfast of some young people's lives? Because people in this room are looking to help us support and fund all this work that we're doing. This is effective, it's making change, but it's not change. It takes resources, it takes people. And so we're counting on you to dig deep. Man, sometimes we give to organizations that do good, but today we're asking you to partner with and give to an organization that does change. It doesn't just do good, it does change. Affects permanently, echoes into eternity. I might be, you might say, oh, he's a pastor, so he's talking about eternity. I'm talking about young people's lives matter. And the fact that they echo your change, what you important to them, what you give to them, makes a difference. And we need you to partner with us. We need you to financially be invested in this. And so we're going to bring up, we don't have much time, we're running out of time. I talked a lot, so they keep flashing things and saying, hurry up. So we're going to, without further ado, we're going to have our keynote speaker come up here. I'm going to let him share his own story. Brian is a powerful man. He's deep. I only talked to him for a few minutes and I was like, whoa. He's the who's who of storytelling. And he's worked with all the big wigs, Disney, Pixar, you name it, all the big guys. So I'm going to have him come up here without further ado and just share his take.
Nobody's taking this water, so I don't think it's decorative, but I did drink this. I apologize for not wearing a suit, but as soon as I'm done here, I have to be whisked away to the airport, and I didn't want to wear a suit on plane, so you did be ingenious. I asked them to give me a live ladder so I can walk around, so I'm going to move around a lot. Give me a second. In 2015, in December 13th, at 3 in the morning, my brother was murdered. He was walking down the street in Seattle. He was approaching someone he did not know. He was just walking in the direction of this person. And this guy said something to the effect of, "Get out of here." I'm sure there was more swearing involved, but he said something. Get out of here. My brother said, "This is a free country, I can walk where I want to." And this guy pulled out a gun and shot my brother, Brent, and then ran away. Let my brother die alone on the sidewalk. So, if there's such a thing as a silver lining for something like that, the silver lining was the outpouring in the community of empathy that came my way. My brother's murder made the news. It was a big deal because he was a popular art teacher. He taught art to kids. And so it was a big story in Seattle. And strangers, virtual strangers, people I knew would walk up to me and they would say, I'm thinking about you, I heard about your brother, that's awful. I heard about your brother, I'm thinking about you, I'm praying for you, those kinds of things. And then there was another group, and they would say something else. Now, this was just as sincere and just as heartfelt and just as welcome and just as healing to hear. But what they would say was, "Oh, your brother was murdered. I can't imagine." They would often touch their chest. "I can't imagine. Your brother was shot in the street. I can't imagine." And I thought, you can't? Because I can't. I've had to imagine my whole life. My whole life I've had to imagine. You can't be a person of color in this country and not imagine it. Happening to you or somebody you know. It's impossible. My mother is very sick right now, and I'm not sure. I even thought about not coming here because I don't know how many age she has. She has been been in sort of a steady decline since my brother was killed. Not rapid, but steady. Just weaker and weaker and weaker. And I wasn't there when she got the news about my brother, so I don't know what her reaction was at that moment. But I can tell you that I was impressed with, there was a kind of stoicism she had. And I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. And I think that some people might have read it as a sort of numbness, and maybe there was some of that. But also, my mother had an attitude. Right? She had 2 black sons. And every time when we were teenagers, we'd go outside, or we'd go out somewhere, I'm sure she imagined it. She rehearsed this. Black mothers have been rehearsing this since there have been black people in this country. The children could be sold away from them. This is the way my mother actually explained slavery to me when I was a kid. When I found out that black people used to be slaves, she's like, well, we were working and all that stuff, sure, it was free, but that didn't make as much sense to me because I hadn't worked yet. But she said, you know, they could take your family away. And that stuck with me. And so, black mothers have thought about this a lot. And then after slavery, there was, of course, Jim Crow and rampant lynching. And black mothers have to think about that. And worry about that. And now we're in our modern era. I don't need to explain that to you. So, eventually they caught this guy who shot my brother. His name is Richard Roundtree. They caught him. He was tried and found guilty of the murder of my brother. He will spend the rest of his life in prison. I was asked, we were all asked, all the family was asked by the victim's advocate to write a letter to the judge. Step over here. And we were supposed to ask for justice. This victim's advocate said, ask the judge for justice. They take these letters very seriously. So, I sat there to write this letter. And I realized I had no idea what justice means. I don't know what it is. Nothing, I was wondering right there, or nothing the judge would do was going to bring my brother back. That wasn't going to happen. Then I realized that for a lot of people, justice is just a synonym for revenge. And I didn't want revenge. And that's not a moral thing with me, right? There was something in me that didn't want it. Didn't make sense to my body. So I ended up, basically in this letter, forgiving the man who murdered my brother. And people, same kind of thing, people would come to me and they'd say, we forgave the guy, because it became public. The letter became public. I didn't know that. I thought, well, I'm writing to the judge. I thought it was just between me and the judge. It's a public thing. So a newspaper got a hold of it and people wrote about it. People knew about it. They would approach me and they'd say, we forgave the guy who killed your brother. I can't imagine. I can't imagine. I heard that again. I can't imagine. I thought, well, and they treated me like I was some kind of saint for forgiving me. That's not what was happening. It was easy for me to imagine the life of Richard Roundtree. And it was easy for me to imagine that I or my brother could have been on the other end of that gun. It would just enough. Just enough. Richard was born in South Central LA, and he was born into a gang. His parents were gang members. He's born into a gang. He's born into violence. How's a little boy supposed to imagine teenager, his father went to prison for an armed robbery. So Richard sold drugs to support his family. He had a lot of siblings, so he was helping his mother out. I'm sure you couldn't imagine another way to do that. Right? He saw no examples of anything else around him, right? So he's in a world of violence. He's in a world of poverty. If you live in a poor neighborhood, you go to a crappy school. Right? So poor education. Anyway, Richard eventually is caught. And goes to prison. And while he's in prison, for the first time in his life, he starts to imagine a different life for himself. He doesn't want to go back to prison. So he starts to imagine a different life. He learns to trade in prison. He gets out. Now, if you've read Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow, you understand the problems he had when he got out. He can be denied a job, couldn't get a job. You can be denied public housing. If somebody in your family is in public housing and they put you up, if you're a convicted felon, they can lose their housing. You're not eligible for food assistance. So what is Richard supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? He goes back on the street and starts selling drugs. He's really forced to do this by the system. So he goes back on the street. While on the street, he's stabbed. Pretty bad, from what I understand. He's stabbed. He heals from that eventually, goes back on the street. So now, 2015, December 15th, 3 in the morning, my brother is walking in his direction. What he said at his trial was, well, he'd been stabbed, so he was joking. And when my brother approached him, he didn't know why my brother was approaching him, and he pulled out his gun and shot him. Now, I don't know if this part of his defense is true, but it doesn't seem like an unreasonable response, really, with all that trauma he had. Right? So here's the thing. I have a memory, a vivid memory. I was a very young boy at the time, and I was the oldest. So my brother and sister were even younger, and I wish I could remember how old, but I was just young. I just remember being very young. And we were sitting on the couch, and my father was beating the shit out of her. Just beating her relentlessly. And Mom had to sit on the couch because she didn't want us to get hurt. So we were just an audience. So like Richard Roundtree, I'm born into violence. When my mother got the courage to leave my father, we didn't have any money. We were poor. Sometimes I didn't have food to eat. I would go to school hungry. I got them free lunch, which they always want to take away. But I would go to school hungry and try to learn. As I had done, I was dyslexia, so there's that. So I'm in poverty, like Richard. I'm warring to violence, like Richard. I could talk about all of the racism I experienced in my school career, but I'll just tell you one story, probably the most important one. And I'm going to talk about something that I've never talked about publicly. I've never talked about it publicly. I did write it recently in a memoir, but that won't be out for quite a while. So eventually it will be out there, but it's not out there now. I was thinking about dropping out of high school because it was an awful place for me. administration, this is 1980, where the administration and the faculty really didn't want us black kids there. And they kind of let us do that. So I was always in trouble for nothing. And I'm like, I gotta get out of this place, it's making me crazy. And I thought, well, I don't want to drop out of school. So I looked for some reason to stay. And I saw that there was a creative writing class. I knew from the time I was 5 years old that I wanted to be a filmmaker. From the time I was 5. I read voraciously about it and about storytelling. I saw this creative writing class. And I thought, this is what I need. So I told whoever I want to take this class, and they said, well, it's an elective and it's full. You have to ask the teacher if you can take this class. When you experience racism on a regular basis, you know what it looks like, you know what it feels like. When I looked at the teacher and I said, look, I'd like to take your creative writing class, he wouldn't look me in the eye. And he said, no. And I said, I really need this class. Please let me take this class. And he said, no. I said, you can give me more homework than anybody. You can try to weed me out. I wasn't doing any of my other homework, so that wasn't easy. And he said, no. And he kept saying no. No matter what I offered, he said no. What you mean? And I walked out of the school, and I never went back. Here's the thing. I'm not saying this to brag. And maybe a little bit of a humble brag, but there are people who say I'm one of the best people in the world at what I do. I have fans from all over the world. I get email from people. Oh, I just got to talk to a guy in Zurich the other day. From every corner of the globe, I get emails and fan mail. And people write about me. I have a 3-book deal with Miller. I work with the biggest studios, Lucasfilm, Pixar, Disney Feature Animation. I work with Cirque du Soleil to help them with a story that they did for a show they did in Disney World. Everybody, Ford Motor Company, work with them. Amazon, Microsoft, work with them, all teaching them on story. Something I had to teach myself, by the way, because nobody would take a class. Sometimes I teach classes and somebody get nervous and they say, I've never taken a writing class. I'm like, oh, neither have I. The reason I tell you this is because that teacher who would not really take this class looked at this black boy and thought, and he couldn't imagine that I would do the things that I would do. He couldn't imagine. He tried to stop it from happening. He couldn't imagine. He's in my memoirs now. He gets to be famous for the rest of his journey. Being a racist. So, it was so easy for me to imagine Richard Roundtree's life and how the world wanted to throw him away. And I know, again, if my brother had been on the other side of that gun, on the other end of that gun, I would have wanted people to understand that he was a human being. I would have wanted people to understand that he was put in that position. So I had to extend that to Richard Branson. There was nothing else I could do. The people in this room they can imagine that everybody has value, that everybody has worth, that everybody has potential. They can look like a kid like me in high school and say, well, that had to be something. Imagine if they had done a ROCA for Richmond Elementary. My brother would be alive and I would be talking to him. What if there had been? What if there were more ROCAs? And what if there were more people who thought like you all in this room? What kind of world would we create? What kind of country would we create? Just imagine. Thank you. Let's do it again. Okay.
We're running a little bit late, but I promise we'll get you out of here soon. We just have a couple of quick things left. My name is Cynthia Lala, and I'm ROCA's Executive Vice President of Women and Children. A growing part of ROCA's work is with young mothers at the center of urban violence across Massachusetts and now Connecticut. It's truly a privilege to work with this group. If you went through half of what they went through, I don't know how they wake up every day, facing seemingly unsurmountable challenges and barriers with very little support. When I first met Aliana, I knew she would be up here one day. She's a beacon of hope and resilience, a true inspiration. Please welcome Aliana Colon, this year's Young Mothers Speak Chief Award winner.
Good morning. My name is Aliana. I'm 27 years old, the mom of 2 amazing boys, and a baker trying to start my own business. I've been a ROCA participant since December of 2019, and I am proud that I've been sober for now 21 months. Three years ago, I had an open case with DCF and was living in a family shelter. My DCF worker talked to me about ROCA. At the time, I thought it was a suggestion until Olga, my youth worker, showed up at my door and I realized she wasn't going to stop coming by. When I became a young mom, I had little to no support. In the shelter, I felt even more alone. I turned to alcohol thinking I would feel better. I wasn't sure what ROCA was, but I had nothing else going on. Soon after starting, I drank too much and ROCA staff had to get me to the hospital. That's when I lost my kids. I was angry, but this time I had support. Olga showed up the very next day. She told me she was scared to come and see me in the hospital, but I was actually scared until she got there. I was sober in the hospital, but I still had a long road ahead of me. I had many incidents of abuse while under the influence, and I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I didn't know how to handle my emotions and was still using alcohol to cope. I had many incidents of abuse while under the influence. I'm sorry for myself. In February 2021, I was arrested and a few months later sent to jail for 90 days. It was a wake-up call for me. I was sober for longer than I have been in years, honestly. My feelings of regret hit rock bottom when I found out my kids were being now put up for adoption. I wanted to better myself, but behind the wall, there was very little I could do for myself. I don't know if you know this, but just us. Programming for women as compared to the men is very limited there. The only classes we could do were sewing, gardening, parenting, or work in the kitchen. There was wait lists for everything. I learned that ROCA was having a CBT class there, and I was literally just excited to jump at the opportunity for that. Coming out of jail, I really started to engage more with ROCA, seeing a therapist and doing more CBT. Olga was patient and real with me. She showed up for me again and again, and she even suggested I go into an outpatient program with voluntary testing. That was the beginning of my sober journey, and also where I met my amazing recovery coach, Jamie. In the past, I would just yell at people. I didn't even really realize I was experiencing an emotion. Thanks to CBT, I can break down I can realize when I'm in a cycle, so I can break down my thoughts, label my feelings, and make better choices instead of just reacting. I can recognize red flags and navigate new and healthy relationships as well. I even remember at one time, I thought parenting classes were kind of pointless, but now that I've done them, I have a completely different perspective on why my kids do what they do. Another barrier to getting my kids back was getting an apartment, and a barrier to that was having bad credit. Taking their financial literacy classes literally helped me get out of debt and fix my credit at the same time. So now, with ROCA's support, I came a long way. I'm on track to be reunified with my kids very soon. I would say that probably the hardest part of my journey was not being with them every day. I missed so many little things with them, but I look forward to the everyday little things like conversations we have when I'm giving them a bath and literally just falling asleep and waking up to them every day. And of course the holidays, because I'm rising on that. I just want to be there everything again. To other participants who are hearing this, take the hand that ROCA is offering. You may not have the courage to ask for it, and it feels very scary taking it when you've been let down so many times. You might hate them for knocking on your door, but you need to love them. I'm so proud to be where I am and who I am today. I want to thank my recovery coach, Jamie, my DCF worker, Doreen, my partner, Brian, my best friend, Jocelyn, my mom, Lorraine, and most of all, my two boys, Xavier and Caden, for all their support today and every day. I also want to thank Olga, India, and all other ROCA staff. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here and bearing witness to incredible young people that we are so honored to serve. Thank you to Brian McDonald, whose story aligns so well with ROCA's mission. Thank you to the young people, our team, our very special partners and investors who make all of this possible. We are so humbled, and we seek to honor your support to help us with this sacred responsibility. This nation is rightfully calling for social justice reform, criminal justice reform, police reform to support and help our most vulnerable and disenfranchised people. Those calls can never be loud enough. We witness racism and inequity every day, and its impact is nothing short of criminal. So here we are. The question is, what can we do? As individuals, as organizations, as coalitions, to address these injustices and continue to progress towards equity and fairness and compassion. It is not easy. Change cannot just be spoken into existence. Someone, and then lots of someones, have to do hard work. We have to figure out where the system is failing young people and others. We have to build a roadmap to a fairer and kinder and, dare I say, more hopeful future. Systems are made of people, so we must approach the system change by person, group by group, and change takes all of us. We must engage leadership and those working on the front line to support our most vulnerable among us. Today you have learned how ROCA has pursued justice and reform for 35 years, reducing incarceration and violence and racism, and saving and changing thousands of young people with all of you. But we are far from alone. I want to tell you about one more special person, a public servant who has spent years tackling one system after another, enabling people to do good in those systems and to bring fairness, to address disparities, and to be helpful to those in desperate need of support. On behalf of the ROCA team, I am so proud to recognize a friend and colleague who also is from Chelsea, who actually has no idea he is being honored today. He was at the forefront of the National Juvenile Detention Alternatives. He's helped his team prepare for Raise the Age in advance. He improved educational programming and promoted youth development in the Department of Youth Services. He revamped classification in several state institutions and led his team in the past few years to address up to 5,000 query matters a month with a paper system. He figured out the needs and the challenges faced by people on probation and implemented case management and social services to better serve them. He worked to increase housing, treatment, and employment for people under probation. His leadership in the Massachusetts Probation Services reduced recidivism due to reducing revocations and technical violations, which has played no small part in the Commonwealth having the lowest prison count in the country. He's a self-professed, behind-the-scenes person. It's also really funny. But his quiet legacy is nothing short of extraordinary. On behalf of all our friends and ROCA, we are so honored to award Ed Dolan the 35th Anniversary Service Award. Please join me in.
Thank you, Molly. As Molly said, didn't see this coming. And so the good news is I'm speechless. And so I'll get you on your way. One, I just want to congratulate ROCA. 35 years. I think one way or another I've been connected for the whole 35 years. I'd like to say we grew up together. I think I grew old together. And but it's a remarkable story. And you know, ROCA in Chelsea, now it's Boston, it's Revere, it's Lynn, it's Hartford, it's Springfield, it's Baltimore, and through the Impact Institute, it's worldwide. So that gives sort of new definition to showing up to do this important work, and it's really a remarkable accomplishment. So as Molly said, I'm a kid from Chelsea, born and bred, and I sort of get this work at a very personal level. You know, I had in my life caring adults that, you know, helped me make good decisions, helped me recover from stupid ones, you know, modeled behavior, gave me the skills to navigate the world, and provided that safety net when I didn't get it right. And I had lots of friends growing up in Chelsea who are no longer with us, who did a lot of damage to themselves and a lot of harm to other people because they didn't have a ROCA. They didn't have a caring adult in their lives. And as our keynote said, that, you know, really can make all the difference in the world. So this work is, you know, I feel like with probation, we're sort of kindred spirits, very much trying to do the same kind of mission, be that caring person in someone's life, help them make good decisions, help them recover from bad ones, skill them up, and you know, give them the wherewithal to change that trajectory of their lives from a negative one to a positive one. Their lives are improved, their families' lives are improved, our communities are made safer. And so it's really been a parallel journey, and this acknowledgement from ROCA is all the more meaning because They talk the talk, they walk the walk. They know what it's like to do this work, retail, person to person. That's where the change happens. And that showing up and being there for people relentlessly is not easy stuff. And so this is a high compliment indeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're sorry we kept you so long. It's not our usual. We appreciate your help. And Eric, I cannot even begin to say how much we're
Romans 12:2 says, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Man, we're doing some biblical stuff. And we need you to partner with us to make it happen more effectively and in more places. Please, please, please find a way to get connected, find a way to partner, find a way to help and support this very noble and important work that's happening. On your tables before you leave, there's some books and some rocks. Please take them as a memento, as a reminder, put it on your desk, put it where it's going to remind you that there's a place affecting change. And I just want to steal Brian's idea. But he did a Yuffie, I want to do a selfie. You guys thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for everybody, all the sponsors who made this possible, everybody here who has participated, helped setting it up. We can't do this without you. Thank you, and we hope to see you very soon.